This is some epic, epic music. We're back. I forgot how great, I constantly forget how great the Witcher soundtrack is. Thematically, it works so well for just about everything, I believe. So now I have the challenge of keeping the music quiet enough so you can hear me, but loud enough to feel epic for me. Welcome back. I'm Richard Quiner. This is the RPG Daily. You guys know what you're here for if you are watching this. Today we're continuing. This is live stream number 5, I believe. Yeah, live stream number 5 in the month of March challenge to write an RPG adventure within the month to have it published by the end of it. Today we're talking about something that's not so much story as it is giving the player some agency, giving them chances to do something a little more better with their time. So we're going to just dive right into that. That's right. Tough choices. I didn't hear sound come from that. My music must be too loud. Or is it? We're talking about decisions today. We're talking about creating some tough choices for the players to have to go through for the adventure party. So, first up, let's recap. Let's check in on my homework to see what we got going on with this. Actually, I missed the call anyways. I was going to stop and take a call, but I missed it. I'm hoping it wasn't anything too important just yet. I do have some packages being delivered today. That's what I thought it might have been, but I'm hoping it's not. In fact, I'm going to cheat. That email doesn't help me one bit. Okay. Closing that now. Now, getting into it, let's look at our homework from the previous session, previous live stream. I set up some homework of myself. You'll see I have my map pulled up here. This will help us. But the homework I had listed was get a playtest scheduled. I failed. Nope. I did find some people who are willing to do it, but I have to work with their schedules to do it. So this is actually going to happen Friday. It's going to be some players that I play with, I run a campaign for. They agreed to do it, but they might have some different, some needs. You know, they might have varying schedules, so we're actually working on that on Friday. Flesh out details of all the zones. This I did like a half. I did a 50%, and I'll show you what I did there. I went through starting at the top, and then I actually ended up bouncing around. But I used part of my outline that I had. I have the outline, and it had description and information, major NPCs and antagonists and rewards, all these different kind of prompts, writing prompts, so to speak. So I took those prompts, I put those in each location because that's how this one is going to kind of play out. It's like it's going to be location, not necessarily scene to scene to scene. So I set that up, and then I started filling in all these locations, starting, of course, with the location 1, which is the Northern Guard Tower outpost. And I kind of described the outpost a little bit. I mentioned some information that's coming in from the NPCs. I listed the NPCs, which I need to come up with some names, and mainly Ednus Goldgrip and Dern Buren, the prospector, which I need to add to my list of prospectors, but he might need a name change. And here I am, stomach growling once again. Then I went through and I just continued doing that for as many places I could think of. I have the claim where they find the child in the chest. I have the prospector's camp where he ran away from. and I'm setting up kind of like a moral quandary, could say, or something there, where you got sent to find an heirloom at his camp that he left behind, but instead you discover that the heirloom is not there, which you could then run into the person before. I've added a location 3B, which is going to be over here by the river. I'll just label it now. And this is actually going to be where the crossing will occur, is the idea, is just... I hate that one. Curvature is 0. Why did I hit 0? Undo that. 3B is kind of where the river crossing happens. So the adventurers... So I just have like a point of interest on the map that says there's the river crossing, where they can see that the tracks of the child's parents, and the undead horde that they were leading away actually disappeared. I'm going to up the amount of undead. If it's 1 or 2, I feel like that's not scary enough. But if I have kind of, quote, hordes running around in in this zone, that'll be a little better, I believe. Location 4, I introduced the Elven Brigand, and this is going to be part of the red herring. At one location, they'll find elven arrows, so they'll think, oh, it's an elf, or it's, something from an elf. Then if they find the Elven Brigand, they might immediately think that it's him, except he doesn't have a bow or arrows, so that makes it bring it into question. But he will have the heirloom and probably some other stuff. The whole idea is these new kind of locations might attract some less than savory people, and this one might just be a young, stupid elf rogue who came down to the region to just get his hand on some money. But really, he's a coward. And his name is going to be Dignore Faendelin. Then, of course, there's the claim that's overrun by Zombunnies, with the dead body in the middle. This is going to be... We're going to talk more on this in a little bit. I've named the tavern that I mentioned. The Leaky Stone Tavern is now its name. It only has one tenant in it when the party arrives, but they have the chance to go help the tavern by getting more of its supplies. Apologies, I'm going to turn the music down just a hair. If they can go get the supplies, they can get some extra gold. It's more of a little side quest that will send them to another part of the region. And the idea of some of these is to make the world feel a little more full, give the region some more life to the region. I'm trying to fill in some different NPCs, and then I do want to make a random encounter table, and I might be making this way bigger bite than I can actually chew at this stage, but we will find out. I do have the hidden camp, and then I got the ones that I didn't actually flesh out, though the hot springs we will flesh out a little bit today. I have some ideas for that one. The Lone Prospector might be good. The Southern Guard Outpost I did flesh out, as I decided it's going to be that the guards have already been killed or turned into the undead, and so all there is undead around there, and there will be horses who are pulling a cart full of provisions for the Leaky Tavern, the Leaky Tree, but those horses will also be dead, potentially, so the players will have the chance to sneak in and try to get the cart at that point. They'll have the Hermit Prospector for number 3, of course the Brewbuck Claim, and the Mine Shaft in the middle. So I got about half fleshed out, so I'm not fully there. Same with the NPCs listed. I think I did about half. 50% is my grade I'm giving myself, because I did list some NPCs here. I think I have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 NPCs listed, and I think it might be closer to 75% actually, thinking about it. We'll say 75. And then did I start writing the adventure? I did not make any progress. No, so I am doing really poorly on my homework. I just got lucky that I could actually stream today. I was going to have... my nephew is in town in Los Angeles area, and I was going to go meet up with him at some point when him and his friends were in my part of town, but they ended up deciding to go to the beach instead of coming to visit me, and I'm okay with that. It just means they'll be in my part of the town on Friday, which just means I'll just have to juggle it around the stream on Friday. All that being said, we're going to come up with some decisions. I can fill in more of the locations, but making the decisions that we're going to give to the players is going to be a big part of fleshing out the locations and giving some more depth to the area. So I'm just going to show you what we're going to work on. Leave that one open. I'm going to show you. So decisions have 6 main types that we're going to go over, and we're going to try to come up with one decision of each type. Now, I did not come up with this. This was from the RPG Writer Workshop, and I am not going to go in too much depth because there was a lot to learn. This process is actually making the decisions that I want to do. But here's the types. We have mutually exclusive actions. So you have actions A, B, or C, and the party is going to be able to do one of those, not more than one. So if they choose A, they cannot do B and C. Pretty simple. They have a risk-reward type of decision where they can do a low-risk action to get a low reward, or they can do a high-risk action to do a high reward. That will probably come in with the Zombunnies or the cart retrieval, depending on the situation. I feel if I put several of these different types in here, it'll give the players a lot of chance to really make their own decisions. There will be a now versus later exchange where they can get a small benefit right away or a major benefit later on, depending on how they choose to, if they choose to wait for something or take a high that sums it up. Little benefit now, big benefit later. A resource trade deals with the pillars of adventuring, where you have social interaction, exploration, and combat. And the idea of this is you can take some resources used for one of those pillars of adventure and then exchange it for something that will help in another aspect. So you could take perhaps a magic item and it might help, you could trade that potentially. Maybe a magic item that will help in combat, and you could trade that for important information or exploration about the area to help find the location you need to be. Something like that is a resource trade. Then, of course, there's the offense versus defense, where they have a chance to gain an offensive perk versus a defensive perk or resource, either one. But still, that kind of ties into the mutually exclusive. You can't have both. And then there will be a dilemma, which is a scenario where we cause the players to have to sacrifice something if they make a mistake. That could be, mainly it leads to traps, is what I'm thinking, is like a trap might need something, or sometimes it works with relationships to other characters, or they sacrifice a relationship, just something that will force the players to make a sacrifice. But then the ones that were listed as try to avoid, which I'm just going to briefly touch on, and these make a lot of sense, and actually these are challenges. This is a challenge for me. When I'm running games, sometimes if I'm just doing off the top of my head, I will come up with one of these choices to avoid, and then it's like, why did I make that choice? Hey, Rice Combo, welcome back. It's Wednesday, my dude. Just going over some choice options and talking about the ones I'm going to avoid. Mainly, I need to try to avoid choices that are meaningless, meaning if the players make a decision, it has to matter to the story. I should avoid choices that are obvious, meaning choices where it's like, oh, go into this cave that is clearly dark and dangerous and there's zombies in there, or go into this field of butterflies where everyone is happy and you have the same outcome. That's where it's like kind of an obvious choice. You would go in and you pick the easy one, or it's obvious. And then blind choices are kind of a thing behind, like, what's behind door number 1 or 2 or 3, and there's no clues. There's no way the players can know what's behind the doors, and they're just kind of picking at random. Those kind of choices, I use them in my games. I'm not going to lie. It's something I'm working on, is to not have those kind of decisions or those kind of options for my players to use. Now, all that whole recap took the first 10 minutes of the stream, because I did have it running for a while before. So that's fun. How are you doing today, Rice Combo? Are you at work? if I seem distracted by my phone, I'm waiting for a call actually from a jeweler who's supposed to be fixing an engagement ring. They're supposed to be done with it today. Hopefully, they wait till after this stream to give me a call. Anyway, so we're gonna go down this list. I'm gonna bounce around because I have some ideas for certain locations, certain options, I guess. But I do have one for the first one. Oh, nice. What do you work at, by the way, if you don't mind me asking? Just curious. Doing an ASMR liquid drinking stream. So we're going to do a mutually exclusive action here first. And, oh no, that wasn't what I wanted to do. Oh. Staffing agency, so like temp staffing or that kind of thing? I dealt with the staffing agency at my last job. Currently, I'm unemployed. I used to work as a video editor for NBC Universal, but that contract ended. I had gotten that gig through a temp agency, through a staff temping kind of thing, but because it was through that company, they had a weird thing where I could only work for a year and then I'd have to leave. And I've now done that gig for 3 years, taking 6 months to a year off in between each time. Now I'm on another 6-month break. And then in August, I'm supposed to go back. Unless my boss screws me over and just decides to hire somebody else full time. I don't know. A lot of doubt in that one. But that's why I'm working my tuckus off on this project and other projects. What did I want to do? I wanted to have the players. So we're dealing with the spring. This magical spring. And kind of the idea is they will approach, and I don't want the party to go crazy, right? I don't want the party to think they can just go in there and grab gallons and gallons of this spring water. Yeah, that's kind of a rough thing. It's unfortunate, though. That's like the business. But I can assure you, 90% of the people who go through staffing agencies know what they're getting into. So when they have to be let go or they have to go on to something else, it's never like I don't take it personally myself. I know a lot of people don't. It's just the nature of it. And yeah, paying the bills is kind of important. So the party's going to go to this hot spring that's going to be magical, right? And then at that hot spring, I'm going to go to my location here. It's number 9. It's going to be like this special magical waters that can, almost like holy water. But I don't want the party to go crazy and have fill barrels and barrels of this stuff to use it. I want them to only get enough to do one thing. So I'm going to add a protector, maybe a water genie, the spring. Something that is way too big for them to fight, but also nice and being like, I'm going to give you things to help you out, but only so much. A water genie, right? So I have a water genie there that can will give them, if they're nice, but only enough for one, but only a small amount. But here's the twist, though. Here's where I have to make them. How do I feel about an abominable snowman? I'm okay. I like it. I like it. But are you talking like a Yeti, like abominable snowman? Because are those a creature? Is that a thing? Because I don't even know if a genie is if a water genie or water elemental is a creature in the basic rules. Let's look at Abominable. I know Abominable Yetis exist. And just Yetis. So I guess they're not really snowmen. Like a nice Yeti? I could see that. I could see that. That would be scary too, because these Abominable Yetis are no slouch. It's the Monster Manual. What about a regular Yeti? Ah, regular Yeti is out of basic rules. Just a Yeti. That actually would be kind of fun. I do like that. I do like that. Looking about it now. Okay. And it fits with the theme of the Arctic. A nice Yeti. I could see him also looking a little like Winston from Overwatch. I don't really play the game, but like look at the picture here. He looks like a big white monkey or big white gorilla. Have him be, you know, wear glasses and you got Winston. A nice Yeti, yeah. So they can talk to him. He'll give him some water, but only a small amount because they can only use it for one thing. So the water could be used to cure the corruption. Or they can use it against the undead. I feel like that's kind of a... I don't know how to classify that one. Is that an hour later? Exchange a resource. I think it's a mutually exclusive action. Can use the water. Oh, yeah. Definitely, the water is definitely going to be unfreezing or on the corruption. I'm trying to define, yeah, blessed by the divine. So it's like the Yeti is a cleric. A nice Yeti cleric of a deity. I do enjoy that idea. That's just, it's silly, but it's not too crazy. Like, it can work. It's not dumb. Yeah. So I believe that's considered a mutually exclusive action. And so I'm writing these, I have like, I'm going to actually tab in. So I'm just going to list my different options on things. Then I wanted to Storm Cleric. Yes. Okay. He'll just have to be... I'm just going to have to make a whole stat block for him. I think I have to do that now. That just would be fun. I'll have to come up with a name for him. We'll see if something comes to me. High risk versus high reward, or risk versus reward, and having low risk, low reward would take place for me at point number 5, which is over here on my computer. I don't know how much you can actually see. Hey, welcome, Leo. You got your chance. We're live. This is quite an interesting one. You just missed the part where we decided we're creating a Storm Cleric Yeti that is guarding a hot spring in the Arctic. So I think you came at a good time. Next we're talking, actually, I'm going over low risk and high risk rewards versus for a decision. So I have this location. It's here on my map, number 5. Described currently as a... What did I say it was? Oh, it's a tent or a campground that's been overrun by zombie Arctic hares. And so inside that location is going to be something powerful magic that the party can get. Or they can ignore it and they don't get it. So that's kind of the idea here is the party can fight the zombie bunnies and get, and potentially find the magic item. The zombie rabbits. and snad, or ignore them. This will be really just part of like, or ignore them and not get it. Will they know that there's a magic item there? I'm not really sure how to describe that yet. Like how they can find, maybe they can do a detect magic and see if there's something in the area. That'll be one of my risk versus rewards options that the players will have. I want them to run into a problem with a door here. So I have a dilemma. Minor benefit now versus a major benefit later. How can that come into play? Yeah, just you see a faint glimmer would do it. Yeah, I actually do have a stat block for him, Leo. I can show you real quick. I did not make him too high AC, because yes, they are fast, but I chose to not make them too crazy because it's low-level adventure. But I do have my zombie Arctic hare. They do have keen sight, but their armor class is a 13. So they gotta the dex is too low. I'll go back and fix it later. But I'm dealing with low levels. So they also have bite, where they can take necrotic damage, and they can scratch, and they can leap. I'm okay with this stat block. I like it. And it looks like somebody looked at it. Probably one of my players. All right, back into that. So, minor benefit now versus major later, or a resource. I'm just trying to look at these other ones, and I want to come up with at least one for each of these. If I come up with more options for each of these kind of categories, great. But if I can have at least one of each of these in the game, in the story, that would be ideal. That would be dope. Offensive resource versus defensive resource. Would this... Here's an idea, but it might negate the usefulness. I don't know. Let me tell you the idea, and you can see. At number 8 on my map, I have the corrupt part of the forest, where the players have the option to use water from the hot spring on the corruption to heal it, or they can use it on the undead directly, kind of a holy water. So the question is, would it be... I'm thinking resource exchange. If they were to use the water on the hot spring, maybe they could get an item or a bonus to help them in another area. But part of me is thinking, like, if they use it on the hot spring, which is exploration or social, it's one of those pillars, and then they exchange the water on the corrupted forest, and if they were to get an item that would help them in combat, I feel like that wouldn't be the same... I feel like that would negate the mutually exclusive action of having to pick where the water goes. Because if they're like, oh, I got... we go and we're gonna put it on this thing because that's the right thing to do, and then you get a wooden stake that can kill a zombie with one hit. Does that ruin the mutually exclusiveness? That's kind of my question. That's where I'm at a quandary right there. So we're gonna come back to that one in a bit. The dilemma category is if there's some way or something where the characters have to make a sacrifice to get past something. So I'm thinking, currently I have a 5-room dungeon to finish out the adventure, which normally it's a puzzle. And originally my puzzle idea would be, if they mess up on the puzzle, they get hurt a little bit. Okay. They just take a little damage that wears them down a little bit. But now I'm thinking, if they mess up on the puzzle, if they mess up even once, then they need to sacrifice something. Something magical. So this, it is a little cliche, I guess. It's like, oh, you messed up, now the way is blocked unless you sacrifice a magic item to unlock it. It might be, but it's also, I guess I'm justifying it to myself. It's meant to be that thing where the players mess up on the puzzle, and so now they're stuck and like, well, we gotta use a magic item to open it, and that would be kind of written in the puzzle, I think. That's where I'm leaning towards. And if I don't like it later, I'll just kibosh that one, and I'll try to come up with a different one. Let's see. Minor benefit now versus a major benefit later. What if I could add another high risk, high reward situation at the, it kind of builds itself into it at the Southern Guard station. Outpost is risky to retrieve supplies. But if they do it, they'll get, money. Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking on that one. Is it just another high risk, high reward situation, or low risk, low reward? Even better would be the low risk could be even just as much as, like, maybe they get paid per crate that they bring back. So if they bring back more, then they get a better reward, but taking the time to bring back more of the supplies would take longer. That might give them incentive to, maybe they can sneak in and get it, but they also have this whole cartload. How do they get the cart to the tavern safely? They could pull it, but then they have to deal with the zombies that are at the outpost attacking things. That's a thought. So I'm going to list that there. An offensive resource versus a defensive resource. A lot of this whole thing is just the undead. And I want it can't be just a blind option, which just briefly popped into my head. That's why I'm saying it. I was briefly thinking about when they're saving the little girl's parents, maybe they can only save one, and that determines if they get a defense or an offensive resource. But I don't think that's wise. I think that's unwise. Now versus later is also a thing. I mean, I can add that. I can do this is like, instead of money, no, this will be the, which one? Oh, we'll do the guy who was like the rescue. If they rescue, there is a location where they have an overrun prospector. He will offer them. Right, Rice Combo. Thanks for stopping by, man. Always a pleasure. Good luck with the rest of the day at work. Best of luck. If they rescue the overrun prospector at his camp, then a magic item. A weapon. Should be a weapon. Or should be some... defense or offense. That could be something like if they complete the quest, then they can get the item, but they have to choose one or the other. Here's an idea. What if there's someone else wants the... No, that's dumb. I was like, what if there's someone else who wants the tavern's goods? Then what do they do? Ooh, I want them to exchange something. Maybe the rogue can do it. This might work. What if the rogue, the elf rogue is... This could backfire depending on the party. For a weapon. Maybe he just needs another weapon. Maybe he lost his dagger and he needs a weapon and he'll trade it for this heirloom that they got. But then the party, I say it could backfire because then the party could just be like, no, we'll just kill you and take the heirloom because you stole it. But then is the dwarf at the start being honest? A lot of moving parts. I'm going to leave that there for now, just for now. The song playing is called Gothic Wedding. Interesting. Etc. Etc. So I got one for almost all of them except for now versus later. Now versus later. The magic item found in number 5 could be a single-use wand, perhaps. No. Single-use wand doesn't make much sense. It doesn't want to give you a bigger benefit just because you wait longer. What kind of things? Unless it's like specifically for the Underdark. Or maybe it's an AoE thing, like it's a flask of fireball. Maybe it's a... This is interesting. I do like these streams because it is interesting to be able to just sit and focus on one thing for a couple hours. Where, like, my normal day-to-day life is not like that. I have to squeeze in the creative stuff whenever I get a chance, which isn't as often as I would like. That's what happens with girlfriends. Magic item. Oh man, this is a tough one. This is tough. I'm just going to write down in the resource exchange. I'm going to be like, if they use... Then get a blessing. Ooh. One of the merchants was just starting up their business and asked for a startup investment. That's an interesting one. The only merchant I currently have in this right now is the leaky. It's called the Leaky Tree, and it's just a small rundown tavern. Like, it's more of a tent that they decided to put a tavern in it. And that I'm currently having for that he's missing his supplies. But maybe if they don't want to go get it, then maybe they can... If I'm thinking it right, maybe if the party doesn't want to go get the supplies, he can ask them for an investment to buy some more. Possibly. The other option, going off of that, actually, Leo, is this area is a place of... It's a mining area. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the concept of like gold rushes that have happened in the past, where it's basically people discover gold in an area, and then the prospectors would come out, and they would mark down large chunks of land that they say, I can mine my gold here. This is mine. Called claims. And then no one else would be allowed to go into those claims. Potentially... And that's kind of the same situation here. I have essentially a bunch of veins of mithril ore have surfaced in this area, and it's kind of an untouched area. It may have been on the other side of a mountain or in like a cave in a mountain that was then opened up. Yeah, they would set up towns around the claims. Yeah. So this is kind of like the early days of that, but then we have the undead is roaming around, eating things and killing things. So the party is actually sent here to look into the undead problem, to find out what's going on. What they discover is the undead seemingly are being brought back to life by some sort of elf necromancy. Digging deeper, they find that there's been a prospector who's gone missing. They go into the Underdark to locate the prospector, tracking him into this Underdark dungeon of sorts, where they find that he's been corrupted by some stones that he's found underground, some gemstones. And he is actually the cause of all the undead corruption, and he's been turned into something he's not by a phylactery of a lich. So, I do like the idea. I'm thinking of adding another shop then. Because it could be like, maybe someone is... Maybe there's like a guy over by the tavern who's just like, oh yeah, I'm trying to set up a shop here, but I could use some capital, and maybe you can help me out. I do like that idea. I'm just trying to figure out how it can work into what I've already established as a story. That's my whole thing. I'm just gonna write it down though. A general store. Or an inn. Maybe he's trying to build an inn. So then it's like, oh, I'm trying to build one, but I can't get it. But why would he need the money? Some investments. An investment. I just like the idea. I had this idea when I was doing a LARP. When I had my job, I had thought about getting a really big tent and setting it up to rent like rooms, like one of those massive like 20-foot by 40-foot tents, and setting it up like an inn, and then renting rooms out for in-game currency. So people could be like, oh, I don't have a tent. Can I show up and just like have a space? And I'll be like, yeah, it's you know, a silver for a night or something. I still want to do that, but I need work to fund that one because that is I'd have to buy the tent, which is has to be big. Oh man, one of my D&D groups is talking about the coronavirus. Oh, awesome. Sweet. I just got permission to do a giveaway of some minis from a company called Titan Forge Minis. If you haven't seen their stuff, there are some really cool things. Yes. I can print the minis and give them away. That's what I had asked. Tints are very expensive. Yeah, that's my main problem. It's like, oh, it would be a lot. Or like basically kind of one of those pop-ups. I was looking at it and it was going to cost me like $300, $400 to set something up like that. So I was like, never mind. Now, I mean, I have my tent. I sleep in that. I'm fine. So the person shows up. Now I'm thinking through the thought process of someone trying to make an inn out of... Now I'm thinking of that process. Like, why would they show up in an area without the means to build their shop? You know what? I'll come back to that one. I like the idea. It'll be kind of a side note thing that they can do. In exchange, they can stay at the inn for free. They don't have to pay for it. I don't know if that counts as a now versus later. And earn revenue. Maybe. Think of another now versus later. You can always say, oh, I'm making a potion, but if you come back in, a day, I can have more powerful potions. I can... I'm just going to make a note for myself that this has to be written in the puzzle. So they know that if they mess up, they have real risks. So throughout the course of their adventure, they do have a little girl that they find, and they go to help find her parents, potentially. That one could also be considered a high risk, low risk, low reward. I'm not too sure. Because that idea behind the girl, they find the girl in a box. She says, oh, my parents left to take away the zombies, the skeletons. I stayed here, Then you find the parents who are, of course, fighting zombies and dealing with that. Or my original thought was they're already dead, and you don't really get a chance to save them, and it's just a tragic moment. But maybe that could also be included in how long does it take the party to get there. That could be kind of the thought, is like, how long does it take the party to get to the parents or to catch up with them? Do the zombies undead have enough time to kill the parents? Do the parents have enough time to kill the undead? What is that? But then I had number 10 on my map down here by there's a bridge. I don't. See, that's the other problem, is I don't really... That's kind of a DM's thing, I guess. I could figure out some good system to track time in the one-shot. But that could also be just as simple as, like, do they go to try to find the parents right away, or do they go do another little side quest first? What takes priority in that? And I mean, doing something like that, that should end with either the parents being dead or being rescued, one or the other. We'll just leave that as a low risk, low reward, high risk, high reward. There's a southern guard tower. There's a northern guard tower. Yeah, like kind of a random happenstance thing. I am going to build a random kind of encounter table for it. Hopefully this wouldn't take weeks to do, but it might. Now and later, I came up with an idea. The cowardly prospector. So in the beginning, there is a cowardly prospector who ran away from his camp when the undead showed up, and he left a family heirloom behind. He can pay up front. Pay a little up front, or a lot once he has his heirloom. Meaning, at the front, maybe he could pay like, 2 gold a person or something. But then when they bring back the heirloom, he can use it to, like, maybe he's like an artificer and he can magically imbue something with magic. A magical imbuement. I don't think imbuement is a word. It's not. There's the word. I don't know if that's the word. That, I think, is a decent now and later. It's like, do you want just a couple gold, or do you want the chance at a good magic property on one of your items? I think that is a good minor versus major benefit. Da-da-da. Magic defense or offense from the overrun prospector, which could be something like turning a weapon into a magic weapon, or a shield into a magic shield, or something of that sort. A resource trade, they can get rid of a combat thing for the heirloom. Or that, I actually didn't end up liking the idea of using the magic water on the corruption and a forest spirit or a tree spirit will give them a little blessing, so to speak. Not something huge like a hero's feast, but like something less big. That's just like a minor, like, tip of the hat. Like, good on ya. This is coming together. We got some good options, some good choices here. Mutually exclusive actions. I want to do a couple more of those. I'd like the water from the undead, from the hot spring going to the undead or the corruption. Something with the main plot line, maybe. I need to have something a little more punchy, a little more real, heavy, something heavy for the party to deal with. So the part of it, though, filling you into more backstory. Um, the prospector Brewbuck Goldgrip has been missing for a time. His niece came into the region to look for him because she's from a neighboring town. There's a village that came up that's kind of nearby, as the village hasn't quite formed here in this area yet. Her uncle hasn't shown back up, and a lot of prospectors are leaving this area because it's too dangerous. So she comes in and she meets, you meet the adventurer, or you meet her early on, the adventurers do, and then you can run into her again at the claim that Brewbuck owns with his partner, his buddy Chap. Then that's where you figure out that Chap saw him leave. He headed east several days ago, or like a 10-day ago, and she's like, well, he never made it back to town, so where did he go? And then it's like, okay, he's really gone. No one's seen him. You can always shrug it off, like, oh, he's over at his claim. Maybe you need to go look there. But when you get there, he's not there. And then that's when you trace that to the mine shaft that takes you underground. I think there could be a mutually exclusive action here, but this is where I'm struggling with it. Like, I think, excuse me, I'm getting the coronavirus. Maybe what if it's really big? What if this might be stupid, but this could be an option that just ends it all in a weird way. So what if then, from there, the idea would be you'd head east, you run into another prospector who has seen some weird stuff further south. This is basically, you head east from number 14 here, which I have to move down. You would run into number 7, which is a claim where the prospector has decided to, put up some defenses and be careful because maybe a quarter mile south on this tundra, he's seen some movement and some lights coming in and out and doing something. And then that can lead the players to investigate and find the mine shaft. But what if they go down there, and what if there's a way to just seal off the mine shaft? Where they don't have to go down, they don't have to do this dungeon crawl, but they have the potential of just sealing it up, ending the undead trouble right away, or they can go down and find Brewbuck. That is a mutually exclusive action. It's like they can seal it, but then they will never find Brewbuck. They will never know what actually happens to him, and they could have potentially left him there to cause more damage somewhere else, or if it gets unblocked at any point, or they go down there and they find him and destroy the phylactery and everything that comes with it. I'm kind of liking the idea, like having the option there means, that's something the players could potentially do if they're like, well, this is a problem, mine shaft. Let's just seal it up. And they can do that. I'm just going to leave that. It's like an option. But maybe it's not something that the DM tells them about. Like, they don't spell it out. It's like, oh, you can seal up the mine shaft. But maybe, oh, there's rubble, piles of rocks all around. I'm just trying to think, like, I would like to think most players would be like, oh, no, we don't want to seal it up. We got to go in there. But, I mean, it could be two things. And maybe they'll never know, though. Like, if they choose to seal it up, they'll never know that Brewbuck was in there. Which means he'll just always be a missing person, which means Edness will probably keep looking for him. for a while. Which can get sad. I'm just going to leave it. I like that. If I build in the tools, you know, some piles of large rocks, a heavy stone slab door that's held up by pulleys and ropes, perhaps the players might decide that that's how they're going to do it. And that if it is, that is their prerogative. That's a good one. Yeah, that's very mutually exclusive. What else do we got here? There is... I have the Southern Guard outpost is kind of like a mini dungeon, like a 2-room dungeon where they can kill zombies. That is my low risk, low reward, high risk, high reward scenario. Doesn't have to be mutually exclusive there. Number 5 is my loner. Number 9 is the hot spring on the edge. Number 13. Number 13 is a loner prospector who's kind of gruff. He's kind of like the crazy old prospector who has been out of civilization too long. And he's built up some defenses, and he's built up some... mainly just defenses. As he's seen stuff happening, he built up a little nest, a little protective nest for himself. And he would be the one who would potentially let the players know about the hot spring. Was kind of the idea. Like, if they run across the corrupted woods, they might talk to somebody else about that. They might say, oh, you might need to go talk to this prospector over here, because he's been in the area so long, he knows every place around here like the back of his hand. You talk to him, and he says, oh, there's this this hot spring that's is flowing with magic water or something. I've seen it, but I'm not going to go there because I'm just going to stay in my little bunker and stay here. But I want to have something come out of that. He's just a resource dump. He's an information dump, but I think it would be good to have something. Some choice here that the party has to choose if they want to succeed. Like, so many options. So many options now. This is a one-shot, and we have like a whole page of choices. That's great. I'm thinking... offense versus defense. They could trade a resource. They could exchange something for a symbol, a flag, a token to take to the Yeti. All right, Leo, thank you for stopping by, man. I do appreciate it very much. Thank you also for your suggestions. I'm looking forward to seeing what we can come up with for the establishing village in the middle of this region. Always start with a tavern, then add an inn, then you got a stew going. But thanks for stopping in, man. Appreciate it. Okay. Crazy prospector in the middle of nowhere. They have to trade something. It's a resource trade. What does he want in exchange for a gift, a token? Number 13 has a token to help them protector of the spring. What does he want in return? What does he want? What does he want? What does he want? This is tough. I'm thinking a weapon is fine because, oh yeah, he wants a weapon. A weapon to help him a ranged weapon. He wants like a bow or something. Then that lets the party, like, they can exchange it right there. They can say, okay, I have a bow. Or I'll just leave it as a weapon. A weapon to help defend his territory. Similar to the elf rogue, but I think this one's more compelling. Because the elf rogue, he's exchanging the heirloom at this point. It's not, they can fight him, but whatever. This one, he's not a bad guy. He just wants to protect his land. Party might be more willing to talk to him and trade with him for a token for them to meet the protector. And the token, what is the token? It's a bag of snow. Which doesn't seem like much because you're in an Arctic tundra. With this, it has been 1 hour. We're going to take a quick break for me to use the restroom. And I will be back and we'll continue. And I think after the break, we'll just jump into some NPCs. Be right back. Bonk. Okay. I'm back. Had to take a little break. We're doing good. Second half of the stream. Let's do it. We are now going to jump into some NPCs. I've made quite a list. I've added another couple. The Yeti, the Forest Spirit. And we're going to come up with some things here. The Yeti Cleric. And the Forest Spirit. So we've come up with some more stuff. We need to fill out some information on each of these. And this is where we're going to use a method that I shared. If you're not on my Instagram, you should be on my Instagram. But I did a post today where I talk about making an NPC. And I have, appearance, the basics: appearance, their personality, their demeanor, a quest if they're giving one, and the reward that they will give the players. So the whole idea is we're actually going to go through this. We're going to do a couple of these probably on camera because it might take me a bit to do. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to start, though, with probably the most important one, I believe, in this is probably going to be Edness. So we're going to start with Edness Gold Grip. I already got her name. Gold Grip. I already got her name. Her race is a Duergar. It's a Duergar. And she is a female. She is a lawful good. Thinking about alignment. Lawful good. Lawful good. Looks like my girlfriend's coming over for lunch. But I told her I'm streaming. So we'll see. Duergar female, lawful good. She is also... her stat block will just be a commoner. The only thing is you get a stat block. Her, I'm going to make a commoner. Not too strong, but she is the driving force behind the whole thing. Right? Behind finding her uncle. Then her appearance. She's Duergar. She's going to have short-cut hair. I'm going to do like a weird take on the mohawk. She might come out very butch. Short-cut hair, undercut. How should I put it? Short, undercut hair. Almost a mohawk. I'm not trying to make her like too soft. She's got to be a little rugged because she's out here adventuring. She's looking for her uncle. She's on a quest. She can't be like the maiden in despair. She's more like the tough niece who is following her uncle's footsteps. I forgot to switch my camera over to this view. There we go. Apologies. Short, undercut hair, almost like a mohawk. She's also got, she's going to be wearing a simple leather armor. But then something stand out. Actually, I think the hair is the standout appearance thing. The appearance attribute is short, undercut hair, almost like a mohawk. And it's going to be black hair. And simple leather armor. And she's carrying a hand axe. Something simple. Okay, that is appearance. Moving on down my list here. I have appearance. Next, we're going to make a personality. Let's give her some personality. So, my current personality listing, I'm asking for a trait, something that sets the NPC apart, some ideal that they believe in, any bonds that they might have, and a flaw. Again, trying to do this in one sentence, a simple sentence. Trait. Gold griot. The trait is a characteristic. She's going to be, and I don't want it to be funny. I don't want it to be too funny. I want it to be something straightforward. I'm kind of thinking her in terms of backstory as someone who was raised by her uncle, and she's extremely loyal to him. So, and that's kind of why she's out here. So she's almost like his daughter, not necessarily his niece, maybe his goddaughter. That could be something. But what makes her unique? What makes her stand out as a character? Let's see. She is... She's just always going to be fixing her hair. That's where we're going to start for now. Almost like it's a habit, like it's a reflex. Then she has ideals. Her ideal is, like, her belief system is going to be family first. It's going to be like family comes first, though they may fight. Amongst themselves. Woe be unto anyone outside that insults them. Bond. What is their connection to the world around them? What do they think of the people and places around them? The big one, she is going to be fiercely loyal to Brewbuck and his situation. It's a type where, like, if she were to hear about him, she would be the first to go in after him and try to find him. And then try to save him. Somehow. So that's kind of where her bond is, where she's... But then that's also going to be her flaw. Her flaw is like she's blind to her family's shortcomings. Is that a short joke? Because they're Duergar? Ha! Yes. Shortcomings. She's kind of blinded to her family's shortcomings. They can do no wrong in her eyes. I think that is, to me, that's a flaw. That you have to find a balance, in my opinion, in that case. But that is a simple one-sentence flaws. Her demeanor, or her attitude, I guess you'd call her. Demeanor. It's going to really just be a simple thing. She is she anxious or is she impatient? I'm going to do a couple words here. She's anxious because her uncle's gone missing. She's active because she's looking for her uncle. And what's the word? She doesn't like the bull crap. She doesn't like to hear no nonsense. No nonsense. That'll be her demeanor. Her quest, of course, her quest is to find her uncle. But we have several things that we go put into quests, that I like to put into quests. So we have the what does she want them to do? Locate her Uncle Brewbuck. Where? And she wants them to go to the claim first, wherever it takes them. So the question is, where does she want them to go? How does she want to do it? Is this comes into play? The how comes into play when dealing with characters, NPCs of different alignments. You might have one character might have an attitude that they need money. You know, maybe someone owes them money, and if they're like a lawful good and someone owes them money, they might say, "Oh, just give me my money back. Just go get the money. That is the quest." Another person who might be more of like chaotic evil or a lawful evil might say, an evil character, unlawful, might say, "I don't care what it takes, just get my money back and put them in the ground. You know, kill these people who owe me money." That's kind of why how is kind of important, because setting the demeanor of the NPC and then how they want the task accomplished adds complication and makes it a little harder for the players themselves. So my how does she want the party to find her uncle? She wants him alive. I mean, yeah, she wants them to bring him back alive. And this kind of goes without saying because she loves her uncle. It's kind of silly to write it. And it doesn't make sense. And though, she wants them alive, even if he doesn't want to. So that's her taking away his freedom. So she doesn't want Brewbuck to just tell the party, you know, I'm just going to stay here for now. I'm good. She wants them, if he says something like that, she wants them to go, okay, we're bringing you with us. And then they'll have to figure out how to get him back, but in one piece and alive. The how, when, obviously ASAP. ASAP. She will be in the area. She'll be looking for the next 10 day. A 10 day in Dungeons and Dragons terms is about a week. It's 10 days, as it's called. So that's going to kind of be her time frame where she's going to be in the area doing that, looking around also. And at different points in the adventure, the parties could run into her at several locations, depending on how long it takes. And she could be finding more clues. And why does she need the party? She is only one person. And the neighboring authorities won't help her. And then what? So that's the quest and all those answers. And then the last thing we need to find out, we need to know for sure, is what she intends to give the players if they succeed. What is it? Like, what does she want? I'm going to try to fix this. This feels weird. The formatting here is strange. If I go to format, paragraph, and styles. No, align and indent. And I go indentation options. Hanging indent, apply. And I can stop hitting tab. Oops. I don't know if that works. That works for me. So what Type in reward. So what will she offer them? Gold is always an easy one. We'll say 100 gold. They can get another option we'll give is the deed to Brewbuck's claim in Donar Song. I think that's a safe one. We'll just go with those two. But then that's Edness. So I'm just gonna mark it as like, yay, we did it. Next, let's see here. So I have Chap, I have Rutger. We're gonna do the little girl. We're gonna work on Lindsay. And Lindsay is a human female. Who is 12 years old, 10 years old. Lawful good, of course, and a commoner. She's not one to be involved in any sort of combat in this case. Appearance. This is going to get a little sad because she's going to have been in a box for a while. So she's going to be simple. What's the word for it? If you're in a box for like a couple hours, it probably won't have much of an impact on your appearance. Scraped arms and legs from being shoved in the box, or bruised limbs from being in the box. Kind of wild eyes and sweaty, matted hair. That makes sense from being in the box. Or does it because she's cold? Almost frostbitten. That will also increase the urgency if the party needs to get her warmed up. So her trait, at this point, it's her personality trait is basically going to be terrorist. Like, her demeanor is terrified and scared and nervous. I like my list of traits that I came up with. Cautious. Oh, that's demeanor. That's not my list of traits. What is her trait? Trusting. She tends to believe everything adults say without question. Boom. Her ideal. Ideal is a belief, something she truly, fiercely believes in. She's a kid. Her parents. It's gonna sound like a little kid where they say, "My dad's stronger than your dad." hurt. That's kind of sad. Her bond is to her parents. Or her bond will be this ties into her trait. This could be replaced. I may have to do that later. Ouch. Adults are there to protect the young is kind of her belief, so she will listen to them. And her flaw is going to be the childlike sense of wonder. And hope. That's your flaw, child. So her quest is what? It is find her parents. Her parents that led attackers away from her camp. Oh, this is all behind the thing. Whoops. I can't get it high enough. Yeah. I needed to move that. So she wants them to find her parents. She needs to where she thinks they were leading the undead further east towards the river. How? Any means necessary. Meaning, kill the zombies, right? That's what how means. When? Right now. It's been too long already. And why? Because she's a child. And then, what will she give them? Here's the clicker. Nothing. She's a child. That's kind of the idea. It's like, well, maybe just being a kid will appeal to the party's sense of heroism, and she won't offer them anything because she's just a kid. Her actual name is going to be... I had written the whole thing down. Lindsay Tandor. Kind of like tandoori, like the chicken. Next, let's make another one. We'll do one more, and then I have to come up with my homework. What do we got here? I have so many names now, and I forgot where they came from. So I'm going to go look at my other one. So we have the elf rogue named Dinyor Feindelen. We have Turley Grondor is the owner of the tavern, and Schmidt Dunland. Harvold Dunewater is in the hidden camp. The lone prospector is June Guardia. Rutger Jones is the superstitious prospector hanging out in the woods. And then I have Durley No. What is it? Dern. I probably need to rename that one. Dern something or other. Yes, Dern. Dern Buren. The thing with NPCs, which I'm trying to do, but I already failed, is I've tried to not have any NPCs named with the same letter of the alphabet. That way, in the player's mind, they're not mixing them up. Because I have Dern and I have Dignore right now, and that could easily be mixed up. They could be like, oh, the D. But instead, we're actually going to focus on Rutger. Because he ties into the decisions we're going to make, or we wrote earlier today. So he ties into the resource trade of the old prospector wanting some help. So Rutger Jones, I believe I said. Yes, Rutger Jones is the prospector. And he is going to be... Rutger Jones sounds like a human name. But what if it's a furbolg? They're not in the basic rules, I don't believe. Furbolg. Furbolg are an interesting race of creatures that I enjoy looking into. They're in Volo's Guide. That's where their traits and their attributes come from, is Volo's Guide to Monsters. But are they really monsters? No, they're not. Furbolg traits, names, natural druid outcast. Yeah, I'm not going to use it. Because I want, like I said, I want a player or a DM to be able to run this with just the basic rules. I don't want them to have to look at anything other than that. So Rutger Jones will be a wood elf. Male. He's going to be easily... how old do wood elves get? We're going to put him on the older side of things. Elf traits. Age. They live to be... They turn an adult at 100, but they can live to be 750 years old. Let's make him really old. Let's make him really old. He is going to be 700 years old. And then his alignment is chaotic good, chaotic neutral. He's here for himself. He's not here for everyone else. And his stat block, though, is going to be a druid. So if we do have a stat block, we'll just pull like a little druid on him. That's a weird phone number to be getting a call from. That's a cool idea. His appearance. Here's the thing. He's not going to be... He's going to be wearing a loincloth. No, it's too cold for that. Wears a whole lot of furs. Of all types. He is missing an eye, but doesn't wear an eye patch. Just has a blank whole eye cavity. And he's his hair is extremely unkempt. Like he's got just like raggedy hair. All right, so his trait, his character, his little defining trait is he rambles on various tangents. or while talking, we'll describe it a little bit. While talking, he will go off on a tangent. Moments. Notice. The idea meaning he becomes very difficult to talk to, kind of awkward. His ideal is live and let live is kind of his ideal. He doesn't want to hurt anyone and make people leave it. Like, he doesn't want to bother anybody, but he also likes being left alone. His bond. This is an interesting one because he doesn't like people. But I also don't want him to be... he's not that guy who's like, oh... What's the word? He's not the type who is... Oh, no, I'm not figuring this out. He's not the type who likes animals more than people. That's the word I was looking for. That's, I think, is a well overdone trope in player characters and just in general. It's like, oh, they like animals more than like people. I think he likes places. Like, he likes nature. Like plants and trees and rocks. The place. More than anything else. And his flaw he is too distrusting of other people. Alright, so now he has a quest. He wants a weapon. What? What does he want? He would like some defensive capabilities. And this ties directly to the decision we made earlier, or the options that we had in the form of a weapon. Where is right here, right now. Nothing special about that one. How? What do you got on? What do you got on you? When? Right away. And then why the party? No one else comes this way. And then his reward. This is a very simple quest that the party could go off and find a weapon to trade him. But the simple reward is, here's the token, or a bag of snow, magical snow, which is the token, to summon, to speak the protector of the hot spring. Pour the snow in, and he will show up. Speak to the protector of the hot spring. That will be his reward, and that is Rutger Jones. Now you can see I'm not going in too in depth with this. His trait is kind of like, as a DM runs this later, they're more likely just going to focus on the trait. They're probably not going to worry too much about the ideal and the bond and the flaws and stuff, and they'll get straight to the point of the quest. The party will be able to choose when they do the quest or not, but the trait is there. The decision that we made earlier to say this is a resource exchange, he wants a weapon for a token so they can talk to the protector of the spring. I think that's still very valid, and it works out pretty well. So now we've made 3 NPC stat blocks on here, and it is time to give me my homework, which I have not been doing great on. If I look at the other pages, what have I messed up on so far? I don't have a playtest scheduled, and I haven't started writing the adventure. I need to. I'm just going to copy all these first, because I do need to finish fleshing out the zones. This is going to take priority over that, which will also help me get the list of NPCs needed, which then means flesh out NPCs, work decisions into zones. And then I need to start writing this adventure. I need to start getting words on the page. That is my homework. The playtest schedule, I'm actually going to push that to the bottom on my list because I am going to get something scheduled Friday for next week, hopefully. But this is quite a bit to do today and tomorrow. I have a lot of stuff going on, so we'll be juggling all of this in the next day. Hopefully. That is the end of the stream. I know this one's a little bit shorter. They're all coming out to be a little under 2 hours, but that is okay. I appreciate you sticking around, watching, doing this with me. We had a lot of good suggestions today from Rice Combo and Leo, which I appreciate. If you guys watch this part of the stream at any time, I appreciate your help and your ideas. They were very cool. But we came up with some good suggestions, good choices, good strong decisions that the characters have to go through. And we came up with some good solid NPCs to throw at the players and introduce and fill in the world. So we will continue all this on Friday. I hope to see you there. I've been Richard. Thanks for watching.